Hey, what's going on, everyone? Justin here, and a couple videos ago I put out my TBR for the upcoming Springathon reading event, which is just an awesome nature-based readathon. For those who don't know, I'll leave a link up there. Definitely go check out the wonderful booktubers who are putting that together. Anyways, like I said, I decided to join, as if it was a really choice for me with like all my nature reads and stuff. I decided to join and put out my TBR, and the prompts this year, there's one for each of the seasons, just to kind of get people thinking and whatnot. And I kind of asked people if they wanted some recommendations based on those prompts, and I had quite a few comments asking for me to do so. So we're starting off in winter, because we're finally, actually I say that, we still have snow on the ground. You know, we didn't have snow for like 3 weeks, and then we had to get like a literal just dusting like overnight just to ruin my day up here. But anyways, we're gonna go through winter, and I don't know if it's just because I live in Maine and I'm just thinking about ice and snow and how sad it is during the winter time. I have quite a few books literally with either snow or winter or ice in the name, but anyways, let's just go ahead and get started. So I got 2 books that I have not yet read. So we got True North, Travels in Arctic Europe by Gavin Francis. And this is a nature travelogue style book, but he incorporates a lot of stuff dealing with either climate change. I read on the back there's some stuff on like mythology of the different peoples he's kind of like meeting. I assume there's going to be like the Sami in the northern Scandinavia regions. He goes to Greenland, different places like that, Svalbard, Lapland, Greenland, Iceland, the Faroe Islands and stuff. But yeah, I really enjoy travelogues, especially like when it's kind of similar to like where I live in the, the far north per se, just dealing with ice and snow. But I think the thrust of the book is how these cultures are fairly fragile, I think, due to kind of pretty low populations and whatnot. So when the the ecosystems and the food webs and stuff kind of start, if you're a traditional seal hunting people and the seals are gone, your just way of life is going to be totally altered and stuff like that. So yeah, this was a gift a while ago and I still haven't read it, so apparently I'm just a terrible person, but we need to get to it at some point. And then next up we have Birds in Winter. Felt that was pretty on point for winter there. Surviving the Most Challenging Season by Roger Pesquet. Pesquet? I don't know, I assume it's French. Pesquet, that's what I'm going to go with. But I got it because Bernd Heinrich wrote a blurb on the back of it when I saw it. He's one of my favorite nature authors, and he's actually got a book later on in the video here about, dealing with winter and stuff. But this is actually more of a technical, I guess more academic style book. I don't know how to explain it, I guess. Dealing with how do different, bird species handle, these, sub-zero, sub-freezing temperatures for extended period of time in, for example, Maine winters, right? And we're not even like the coldest area. How does a little kinglet or a little chickadee survive? They have to eat X number of calories and keep their, blood temperature up. They gotta keep their core temperature up and being warm-blooded and whatnot. But how do insects survive? That was some stuff I learned in some other books and stuff. But I thought that was really interesting. Like I said, I don't know a lot of the details per se. I got a lot of the overview, and like I have like a bird shelf over there just because I feel like one day I'm just gonna become like a birder or something, like a real like serious one. I feel like I should just like know all this stuff. But yeah, like I said, it's a little, I started it before, it's a little on the technical side of things, so it's just one of those ones I can't just like read through it per se, like here and there, like I have to do. This is like one I'd have to like actually sit down and read. Alright, so next up we got a bunch of books that I don't have physical copies of. I either listened to the audiobook or I checked them out from the library or something like that. But let's go ahead and get started. So, this first one, actually, I do have a different book. I don't know why I forgot to pick it up. Golden Wings and Hairy Toes by Todd McLeish. Has nothing to do with winter, so don't pick this one up for winter. But he also wrote a book called Narwhals, which I listened to a while ago. Narwhals, Arctic Whales and a Melting World. And just based on, the subtitle, it's all about him studying narwhals up on like some Canadian adventures and stuff in the far north. I really enjoyed it. He even goes like on an actual like boat ride where he has to like row and stuff to like go find him and everything like that. I thought that was really cool. But it's dealing a lot with sort of the natural history, the evolutionary history of narwhals, like different mythological stuff. Narwhal ivory was kind of a thing for a little bit, kind of dealing with the entire, I guess, story of narwhals. So I just found it really enjoyable. It's definitely like kind of a thing I want to do on my bucket list. I've gone whale watching a couple times, but obviously never that far north to see narwhals and stuff. So that's kind of like on my bucket list now. Next up, we got The Tree Line, The Last Forest and the Future of Life on Earth by Ben Rollins. This one was super, super good. I read it like right when it came out. This is a journalist who went to 4 or 5 different areas of kind of the boreal forest that rings like the northern hemisphere around the Arctic Circle. Well, the tree line, you know, up when you're approaching the Arctic Circle and stuff. Dealing with like Siberian larch, Scots pine, that birch that's like taken over like northern Scandinavia, was it balsam poplar in the Americas, things like that. But he goes to, he goes to Greenland, he goes to northern Siberia, he's going to all these different places, talking to the different peoples, people living there, the indigenous peoples that are also living there, scientists and everything, kind of dealing with what is going on with the tree line and how it's kind of pushing north in some areas, but they're also kind of struggling in a way. But also how this boreal forest, is just, I get almost, it's so underrated as far as like actually like being studied and stuff. Obviously, like, different biodiversity hotspots, like the rainforest, coral reefs, things like that get a lot of attention because there's a lot more species. Whereas like some places in the boreal forest might only have a dozen tops tree species for thousands of miles, but they're just as important as like I said, these kind of biodiverse hotspots, just because they contribute so much to like drawing down CO2 out of the atmosphere, producing oxygen, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, I found it really, really interesting, and he kind of covers basically, like I said, the whole kind of circumference of the globe there in the north. So just really, really interesting. And let's see, we got The End of Ice, Bearing Witness and Finding Meaning in the Path of Climate Disruption by Dar Jamal. And he used to be a war journalist in the Middle East. I think after a while of doing that, he decided he wanted to take a break and go back to like one of his like old like kind of hobbies, which was mountaineering and climbing and stuff. And the book is kind of revolves around his ascent of Denali in a way, up in Alaska, but how it differs from how much it's changed since the previous time he had done it, which I thought was really interesting. Just like I said, dealing with a warming climate and everything, just different aspects of just mountaineering. And the book isn't necessarily about mountaineering per se. He also goes to like places like Greenland, and I think he goes to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia and stuff, to talk with scientists about rising ocean levels. What does it actually mean if we start losing too much ice and snowpack up in the poles and everything, things like that. But I just felt it was really well written, especially like kind of from like a journalistic point of view. I just thought it was really, really good with a kind of a cool angle. And like one of the anecdotes that like I'm not gonna forget is the parking lot he used to use up in Alaska for like climbing different areas and things around Denali and stuff. They had to like essentially move it because it's not even like near where it's supposed to be anymore, because like the ice and the glaciers and stuff have kept like retreating. So I don't know, just kind of crazy to think about, but really good book nonetheless. And then the last one, for ones I don't have, we got Atlas of a Lost World Travels in Ice Age America by Craig Charles. I've read several of his books. They're all really good so far that I've read. This one is all about the Pleistocene in North America, which is like the Ice Age kind of time period. And sort of the thrust of the book is about sort of the first peoples who crossed over to the Americas, and what did they find, how did they live, how did they expand and thrive and develop and all that kind of stuff. You learn about like the flora, the fauna, especially the megafauna. But there's a lot of cool like vignettes where he tries out things like flint knapping with I think flint and obsidian and stuff. He kind of goes over that's not like the easiest thing to do, and how I guess skilled and practiced different cultures had to be just to like do things like that. But just really, really interesting, and I feel like Ice Age stuff fits the winter theme quite well. All right, so now let's go on to some more physical books. Here's like a pair that aren't necessary for reading per se, but I felt they fit pretty good. We got Weeds in Winter, written and illustrated by Lauren Brown, and Tracking in the Art of Seeing. This one necessarily isn't like a winter one, but there's obviously like for those who have never seen like footprints of different animals and stuff in the snow, you're kind of missing out. Like my woods and stuff behind the house, you know, after like a fresh snowfall, go out, like let it sit overnight, you know, you go out and you got like, you know, a dozen different tracks just going like all over the place. I just find it really cool. Like I said, I have a lot of field guides and stuff, so I figured I'd find some like wintery, well, I guess this one is like purely winter and then kind of a winter-ish one. Just thought they were kind of neat. Let's see, we got also purely for winter theme here, we got The Snowshoe Book by William Osgood and Leslie Hurley, a complete guide to how, why, when, and where. I've had a couple videos way back in the day where I was snowshoeing on those paths in the woods behind my house and stuff. It's something I like to do a lot. I was not able to, I was going to say I think I went once, but I don't think I did. It just wasn't, we didn't have enough snowpack in northern Maine, which is unheard of, so I don't, like that's never happened before, unfortunately. But like I don't know, I love snowshoeing. I got metal ones, I got wooden, traditional wooden ones, everything. It's just super cool. I find it's a really fun hobby, plus it's a good workout and everything. But this book is all about, you know, how were they made, the different styles they are. It's probably a little bit outdated. Let's see, when was this published? Dun, 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 dun. Why does it not have a, oh, I think that page was ripped out for some reason. That's bizarre, unless it's in the back. Wow. It doesn't have a date. Well, the earliest I can find is 77, when it was checked out from a library way back in the day. But anyways, like I said, it's a kind of different techniques, you know, how to be safe about doing it. Things like that, you know. Wow, as my cat is trying to knock over all the rest of the books and stuff. But, like I said, I just find it really fun, and I felt it fit perfectly in this. That's kind of a book I can't really, like, incorporate into, like, a lot of things. Alright, so here's Soph, if you haven't seen her on, like, any of the other videos. Say, I'm bad. Alright, so next up, we got a couple books. I guess the best. I saved the best for last, so we're going to pick up the one she dropped here. We got Winter World, The Ingenuity of Animal Survival by Baron Heinrich. This is the author I mentioned a little bit ago at the beginning of the video. Just super tremendous. He's like one of the top, I guess, experimenting biologists that I can think of that actually like writes a ton of books and stuff. He used to teach, I want to say it was the University of Vermont, something like that. But he also built a cabin in the western Maine woods where he kind of grew up. And he does a lot of experiments and writes vignettes and anecdotes based on his like actual, you know, scientific experiments that he does that are peer reviewed and everything, like out like in the Maine woods essentially. Just really interesting. This is like for like that Birds in Winter book I had mentioned. This is like the one you actually want, you can read. For most people, like it's the one you would pick up. And this tells you how do bumblebee colonies, you know, or in honeybee colonies, survive winter, you know, when it's 40 below zero in northern Maine. How does the ruby and actually no, the ruby one leaves. The golden crowned kinglet, how does that one, that little teeny bird that's smaller than a chickadee, how does that survive, you know, 30 below zero for like 2 weeks straight or whatever? I just find it really, really interesting. He kind of does, he definitely gets sciencey, but it's written in a style that you pick up on it, you understand like what he's trying to say, and it's not like overly convoluted or anything like that. Just super highly recommended. This is just, you know, how animals survive. Like that's what I always think too. Like, granted, this winter was about as mild as it gets, but you know, I remember talking to friends and stuff. I would take a screenshot of my when I drive to work sometimes. I think it was like -32 or something. You know, what am I doing wrong with my life? How do all these animals and everything just survive all that? You know, when they don't have the benefit of having like, you know, a stove and furnace and everything like that. So anyways, just really, really interesting. You'll learn a ton. If you have harsh winters, I feel like you should pick this up, and then you'll definitely appreciate kind of the fauna that you encounter in your day-to-day life. And then lastly, we got a really good kind of travel writer kind of thing. We got Tigers in the Snow by Peter Matheson. Just really, really good. I think some of the data might be a little bit outdated. I think this was published in 99 or 2000, I want to say. Oh, of course, why can't I find copyright? Yeah, 2000. But this book is all about his travels to, let's see, eastern Russia, the Amur region, where the Amur tiger still lives. And it's kind of his profile of the tiger, kind of, it's like kind of a little bit of this like life story like the different sub-varieties and subspecies of tiger and stuff. You know, where they are in the world as far as like, you know, different, I guess like scientific, what do you call it, breeding experiments, like with different zoos and stuff to try to get the population going, whatnot. But also a lot of the researchers and stuff and what it actually takes to go out and try to, you know, collar or tag these animals and keep track of them and things like that. And like I said, you're dealing with Eastern Russia, which I think at the time of most of the stuff going on with the book, this is like kind of the, like, you know, just after the fall of like the Soviet Union, so everything's kind of like up in the air, and it's just a lot going on in the 90s in that part of the world. But Peter Matthiessen is just a beautiful like writer. Just his prose is really good. Another book he had written that would fit the prompt really good for winter is actually The Snow Leopard, which is one of his more famous books. This one's definitely, I think, one of the more like lesser known ones per se, but when I saw it, I was like, I had to pick it up just because tigers are cool. Amur tigers are like especially cool, and then Peter Mathiessen's cool, so that kind of like all blends together just a well. And it's not super long either. Tons of great photographs as well. So yeah, just really enjoyable. Dealing, like I said, with the actual scientific kind of life history of the tiger, as well as kind of its cultural significance to, you know, the East Asian countries that have experience with the Amur tiger. So there you have it. Those are a bunch of winter recommendations for Springathon. We're going to be doing spring, summer, and autumn coming up right afterwards, hopefully in the near future. Yeah, that would be kind of annoying for me to put out a bunch of recs, you know, a month after Springathon ends. But let me know down in the comments below if you have any good books based on winter or ice or the cold or snow, anything like that. Like I said, I feel like I read a lot about that just because I'm always in the ice, in the cold, in the snow. So anyways, whether you're reading about something freezing cold or not, always remember, read victoriously.